Glad to have you join us on this edition of the show. Mobility has assumed an interesting angle with the advent of driverless cars and the shared economic model in transportation. My guest today is a startup founder in the logistics space. Look out for our chat on the interview segment. But for now, let's start with some news and updates. I am Chukwemeka Agbata, and this is Tech Trends.
The first rule of any technology used in a business is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. The second is that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency.
The sight of drivers parking their vehicles to wait in lines in front of petrol stations to get fuel is common in today's world, especially with the rising demand of fuel by vehicles and machines. In Nigeria, most stations operate manually, increasing wait times and sometimes causing unnecessary delay. This system oftentimes gives room for corrupt practices and transactions of fuel stations, with motorists and petrol consumers complaining of overpricing or under-dispensing. To solve this problem, a team of Nigerians at the Automation and Solution Development Company in Lagos have developed an automated fuel management system that can maintain the account of the fuel stations.
Fuel looks something that is insignificant in our everyday life, but if you look at it vis-a-vis the economy, we spend about 3.6 trillion annually on fuel in Nigeria. Fuel is the only substance in Nigeria today that if you increase the price instantly, or if there's a bit of scarcity of it instantly, the entire economy locks down. There was no one really looking in that space actively. We tried to even be a vendor of foreign product to try and solve that problem, but it just couldn't work. This environment was built different from their own environment, and seeing that as a challenge and seeing the market space, we decided to take the challenge heads on.
We were actually developing a solution that we thought was going to be a perfect market fit. It was an interface device that combined pump automation, and we thought it was going to be something that was really going to be a joker for the market. Unfortunately, when we hit the market with that particular product, we found out that the market did not really receive it as we had expected. So we had to go back again to the drawing board to begin to reiterate and look at what exactly the market wanted, and today we've been able to develop something that is market fit, something that is very acceptable, not just in the local market but also in the international market.
They built an IoT-enabled forecast controller that will help petrol station owners monitor their station's operation real-time and prevent product theft by employees. The e-pump station automation will improve the daily operation and management of fuel stations while also ensuring customers get value for their money.
What we're doing at the moment is we're helping filling station owners and their customers, which is you and I, to get the best value for their investment. We provide monitoring services via technology that allows you to be physically away from the station but know exactly what is going on. For fuel buyers like you and I, especially when it's in a corporate environment where in most cases you're not fueling the car yourself, you're sending a driver to fuel. Statistically, it's established that drivers take about 30 to 40% of your fueling budget. So e-pump helps you prevent that.
So we have developed a unique IoT controller that is kind of innovative, and it's really a miniature device that doesn't cause any obstruction when we attempt to make installation for gas stations. And then we have also been able to build this IoT controller so that it has expandable slots for future features that people may decide to add on it, such like integrations with the bank POS, integrations with other payment companies, and all of those things. We have been able to put all of those things together into this one IoT controller.
The controllers, which are designed in Nigeria, are installed as add-ons to the pump, GPRS and Wi-Fi enabled. They allow station owners and managers access their dashboard remotely. The aim is to provide end-to-end solutions to the challenges of the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry.
On the POS terminal, I'm going to select POS payment. So once I select POS payment, I'll select the nozzle for which I want to use to make for purchase. In this case, it's going to be pump 1. And then I'm going to enter the transaction amount that I want to buy. I'm going to say 500 naira. And then, okay, I get to submit. And then it asks me to insert my card. Once I insert the card, it will ask me for my PIN. The system is trying to process the transaction. Once the transaction is processed, the receipt is printed. That's the customer copy, and then another copy is printed, which is the merchant copy. So once you complete that process, you proceed. And then, of course, the POS shows you that the pump is ready for transaction. You can pick the nozzle. So I'm going to pick the nozzle. And then it shows on the POS that transaction has started. So I'm going to dispense. Once it gets to 500 naira, I expect that the transaction will automatically cut off by itself. So transaction in progress. The transaction is happening. So you can see the transaction is in progress on the POS, likewise on the pump. So the fuel is still being dispensed. Again, I expect that once it gets to 500 naira, it will just automatically cut off. So it's 500 naira, transaction cuts off. It shows I bought 4.15 liters for 500 naira, and then I can simply hang my nozzle, and then transaction is done, and then it reverts back to the payment homepage.
Using IoT to automate fuel management systems helps ensure the accurate dispensation of fuel at the pump and provides transparency and control over fuel inventory.
"16-year-old Oscar Constanza gives an order, and slowly but surely, a large frame strapped to his body lifts him up and he starts walking. Fastened to his shoulders, chest, waist, knees and feet, the exoskeleton allows Oscar, who has a genetic neurological condition, to walk across the room and turn around.
One day, Oscar said to me, "Dad, you're a robotics engineer. Why don't you make a robot that would allow us to walk?"
Just outside Paris, 33-year-old Kevin Piat, who lost the ability to walk in a bike accident 10 years ago, tries one on, walking around his flat, remote controller in hand.
It's quite different because when you walk normally, you yourself are controlling your walk, but in the end, how it functions is quite similar. It's as if I send the information from my brain to my legs, except that in this case, the orders come from the remote control. It's an extremely pleasant sensation. I feel like I'm in a high position. I can look at people eye to eye, when usually I'm below them, so that's very comfortable. There will no longer be, or much fewer, wheelchairs. Wheelchairs are an anomaly. The first thing we give back to people is to allow them to stand up and walk. That's really important for them, for their health, for their well-being. It's important for all of us who can stand up. That's the first thing to give back to people, and I think we owe them that, because I think before making autonomous cars, we should have autonomous walking.
Wondercraft's exoskeleton, an outer frame that supports but also simulates body movement, has been sold to dozens of hospitals in France, Luxembourg and the United States. Wondercraft engineers say it cannot yet be bought by private individuals for everyday use, and that is the next stage the company is working on. A personal exoskeleton would need to be much lighter. Other companies around the world are also manufacturing exoskeletons, competing to make them as light and usable as possible. Some are focused on helping disabled people walk, others on a series of applications, including making standing less tiring for factory workers.
Designed with the help of a group of Indonesian university lecturers to entertain the village, a homemade robot has found a new use during the pandemic, bringing food and hopefully a smile to self-isolating residents who've contracted COVID-19. Assembled from eclectic household items like pots, pans, and an old television monitor, the robot was renamed the Delta Robot by the project team after the highly contagious variant of the coronavirus that has ripped through Indonesia.
Karena dengan kondisi COVID dan ada varian baru itu namanya varian Delta.
With this new Delta variant and the surging number of COVID-19 cases, I decided to turn the robot used for public services into one that sprays disinfectant, delivers food and necessities of residents who are self-isolating. I am shifting the function to serve only the members of the community who are in need.
Ke masyarakat yang membutuhkan.
With the robot's head made from a rice cooker, it's operated by remote control and its battery should allow for 12 hours of operation. It has also been modified to spray disinfectant to stop the spread of the virus. The village where the robot operates is in Surabaya, which is the capital of East Java province and Indonesia's second biggest city. Surabaya has been swept up by a devastating second wave of coronavirus infections in the past month. After trundling down the street to the home of an isolating resident, the robot speaker emits a message that means peace be with you, followed by a delivery is here, get well soon.
Kayak robot Delta ini kan.
This Delta robot is very simple. The materials used for it are made from used pots, pans and tube television boxes. When we created this, we wanted to use only used materials, so we made use of the waste that was in our neighborhood.
Di lingkungan kami.
Robotnya kan diimplementasikan langsung di kampung ya.
The concept was invented and created by just the villagers, but we gave them support from the university for components and also materials they need as well as funding. During the creation process, we discussed everything together, especially about the algorithms and the electronic instruments that were needed, and Mr. Asayante's team.
Indonesia has become the epicenter of Asia's COVID-19 outbreak and recorded more than 3.68 million infections.
Coming up is my chat with Olumide Aniyikaye, founder, Pack My Load. Stay with us.
Transport has always played a pivotal role in our daily lives, and with the continuous advancement in technology, the means has been seeing significant growth. The transport and logistics sector has now evolved from what it used to be, with startups making the most of innovations and evolutions to make it more connected and convenient. In the last several years, the mobility sector have been getting attention with the upgraded digital methodologies to boost operational efficiency. Joining us now to discuss the advancement in the mobility and technology space is the founder of Payload, Olumide Aniyikaye.
Olumide, glad to have you on Tech Trends today.
Thank you, CFA. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Let's start by understanding the concept of mobility. What is mobility?
Well, I think in simple terms, mobility is, from the word mobile, and it's the movement of goods and services from one place to the other to address, certain needs.
And how do you see the mobility landscape changing with the way technology has advanced so far?
Well, so mobility is linked to a number of things. I think first is, population growth. If you take Nigeria, for instance, we're going to be the largest population in Africa by 2030. We're estimated to reach between 300 to 350 million people. So there are implications to that. Number one, there's going to be an influx of a lot of people in the urban areas or urban centers, in search for opportunities. So Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, and the likes. Then if you, on top of that, you layer that, consumerism, of course, the need for goods and services. So when population increases, there are going to be big problems that will be as with infrastructure, with the infrastructure deficit we have as a country. So mobility will be really important, especially in the consumerism landscape, for people to be able to access goods and services on an immediate basis, and that's where mobility comes into play.
Yeah, okay, so you mentioned the population explosion that countries like Nigeria will witness. So how is the mobility landscape going to be like in Nigeria with 100 more million population?
Well, I mean, we've already begun to see some of these things. Transportation on demand with the likes of Uber, So with population expanding and not enough infrastructural upgrades to accommodate the influx of people and their needs for goods and services, technology will sort of play a big role in revolutionizing how mobility comes in. And like I mentioned, this is currently happening. I mean, the first time in Africa where this happened was when Taxify came to lead the ride-hailing business in Nigeria, a number of other markets. But it's beyond just transportation. I mean, it also has to do with service delivery, movement of people from one place to the other, and technology we will continue to play a significant role. So right now you see food delivery, Gokada, Jumia Foods, all of them playing. You also see a significant increase in apart from e-hailing services, delivery, e-delivery services, and a lot of players entering into that space. What you begin to notice is strategic investments, to achieve that goal of making this mobility or addressing mobility challenges in the coming years by a number of companies.
Yeah. So yeah, just to know, what are some of the challenges that your startup has faced, trying to deliver this service?
So one of the challenges that we face, still, I mean, with the mobile we have a lot of a very high, mobile penetration when it comes to, comparison with a lot of African countries. But mobile literacy is different from mobile penetration. That's one. Secondly, we have issues when it comes to, payments, and trust. Those are some of the solutions that. So those are one of the challenges that we have. Last year, we were also, during the COVID-19 pandemic, NIPOS was going to put out a policy, asking, mobility players to pay a certain amount of money. But this was kicked against by, a lot of, the aggregated players within the mobility sector.
I mean, I'd like you to touch more a bit on the issue of trust. Recently someone was telling me that, he ordered a meal from one of the delivery services, and he felt this fat guy took a piece of his meat, whether it's true or false, but it just speaks on the issue of trust. How can a startup like yours, deal with this issue of trust when it comes to your services space?
I mean, so what we do, I mean, at Park My Lord, so I will use us as an example. We use well-vetted people. I mean, so we also work with startups like ourselves who are into, providing security and background check for some of the people that we work we work for or we work with. So we use well-vetted, well-trusted people. They go through a number of training and screening processes before they can come. And my own service is particularly different because we go into people's homes to help them move things that they are very sentimental or emotionally connected to, and you don't want to just get anybody from the street to do that kind of thing. So it's really important that you have well-vetted people, and you give them the right training. I mean, it's not been perfect, but right now we've just implemented secure check, some sort of verification for us to be able to entrust people's things into the hands of the guys who work for us.
My final question will be like a 2-in-1 question. That's number one, what do you hope to see your startup in 5 years? And then 2, what is your advice to other startups who are also of this similar journey like yours?
In unit economics terms, I mean, in looking at our own startup, we hope to have completed, at least in 5 years. I mean, it's a tall number, but looking at maybe between 5,000 to 7,500 moves, and also scale it to other parts of Nigeria. Of course, our services are geography agnostic, but because of the huge population, we've decided to start from Lagos. So we're looking at moving from Lagos into other parts of Nigeria and possibly into sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, my advice, to your second question, my advice to other startups in Nigeria is, once you believe in your dream, just keep at it. It's a very tough, and challenging environment, for startups. But once there's a proof of concept, and once you've had a validation for your market, just keep at it, and the opportunities will begin to pour themselves in, and focus on delivering exceptional customer service to the people that you serve or to the segment that you serve, and you will find that not before long you'll be able to really grow and expand your business.
Thank you for being on the show today. Keep building.
Thank you very much, CFA. I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
My guest has been the founder of Pack My Load, Olumide Anikaye. One key lesson from this interview is that problems evolve, and so should solutions. Now, if you're looking to launch a startup, make sure you identify a need before proceeding. Now, on the part of policymakers, it is important to create a supportive environment that can help these startups thrive. That's our show for today. You can watch these and previous sessions of the show on Channels TV, YouTube, or cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.